নমস্কার, আজকের আসরে আপনাদের সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাই। আজকে আমাদের বিশেষ অতিথি উস্তাদ জাকির হোসেন, যিনি কলকাতায় আছেন এখন এবং আজকে সন্ধ্যায় বাজাবেন। আমরা তাকে সবচেয়ে আগে আমরা অভিনন্দন জানাবো, কারণ তিনি সম্প্রতি কালিদাস সম্মানে ভূষিত হয়েছেন। জাকির, আপনাকে অনেক অভিনন্দন, এটা আপনার যোগ্য সম্মান। আমরা খুব খুশি হয়েছি আপনি এই সম্মান পাওয়াতে।
থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ।
আপনি তো সামান্য বাংলা বলেন?
একটু একটু বলতে পারি, বেশি জানি না।
এই তো চমৎকার, দেখছেন, একটু একটু বলতে পারেন, বেশি জানি না। আচ্ছা জাকির, একটু আগে আপনি বললেন যে আপনার সঙ্গে কথা বলতে বলতে জানলাম যে আপনি আজ দুবাই, কাল বম্বে, তারপরে পুনা, তারপরে কলকাতা, তারপরে মার্সেই যাচ্ছেন ফ্রান্সে, তারপরে সেখান থেকে আবার ক্যালিফোর্নিয়া চলে যাচ্ছেন।
জি।
আপনি কি করে চালিয়ে যান এভাবে? টায়ার্ড লাগে না?
আমি প্লেনের ঘুমেছি।
প্লেনে ঘুমিয়েছেন? So tell me, you today you got in at about 3 o'clock?
Yes, I did.
And now you've started your interview with us, and then you're going to play this evening?
Yes, I will.
So how do you manage to do this?
I meditate. I do some pranayama.
Okay.
Do a little bit of breathing exercise and meditate a little bit, and that kind of centers me and focuses my energies to the task ahead.
That's really wonderful. And have you been doing this since you were a child?
Since I was 8 years old, about.
So this was a kind of custom in your...
It's part of the training.
Training.
When we are studying music, one of the things you do is you first sit and go through your breathing exercises,
right,
and disciplining yourself, your body, to the point where your kundalini kind of settles down, so that your focus, your rhythm, your tempo, your pulse is at a very even, balanced tempo, and then you start practice.
Right, but you know this lifestyle where you play all night, and then you probably take a 6 o'clock flight out wherever you're going, and then you come and you sleep during the day, and then in the evening you play, and then you late into the night you come back 1, 2, whatever after.
You make it sound so tiring.
No, but what I'm saying is it's completely the opposite of the kind of lives that other people lead. I mean, people do 9 to 5 jobs, people work during the day and sleep at night.
Yeah.
Yours is completely reversed.
Ours is sleep whenever you can. It's more like that.
What does it feel like to hardly ever see the day?
Well, since I was 7 years old, I've been sleeping an average of about 5 hours a day, max. And yes, because my training would begin at about 2:30 in the morning and would go till about 6:30 in the morning, and then I'd go to school. And so the day went in the usual school things, study and whatever, and then you go into bed at night and you were up again at 2:30 in the morning. So the sleep period was only that much as you got at night, so we got used to it.
You got used to it. No, you started playing, I think you started your training at 7, and by the time you were 12 you were touring.
Yes, I was.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us something of your earliest memories. Was it did you naturally feel inclined to play, or did you were you pushed into it by the family?
Well, I think I kind of just flew, kind of gradually went right into it, because I watched the students of my father practicing all day long, and I'd come back from school and bang around with them, and it just sort of one thing led to another, and next thing I knew when I was 7 I was already playing for small kids concerts and things.
Really?
Yes. So at
That's
that point,
amazing.
my father asked if I wanted to seriously do it, and I said yes. And that's when this routine of being woken up at 2 or 2:30 in the morning began.
That's so fortunate for us that you said yes, because you really brought tabla to the world. You're really responsible for making tabla such a dynamic and popular percussion instrument all over the world.
You're too kind, but I think this work was basically laid, the foundation was laid by people like my father. The foundation was laid by people like my father, or Kishan Maharaj, or people, great tabla players who were before us. Because before them, you never knew who the tabla player ever was.
Right.
You saw the concert and that was it.
Yeah.
You saw these great maestros perform, but who played with them, nobody knew. So these 2 or 3 musicians made it possible because of their dynamic personalities.
That's right.
And the way they played and interacted with the instrumentalists and dancers, and then people started asking, who's playing with Ravi Shankar today, or who's playing with Bilal
That's
Khan
right.
today?
That's right.
And then it became like tabla players' involvement became more
Right,
important.
because earlier on, and even now, for some people, you know, the tabla player is just an accompanist for the vocalist or the quote-unquote main instrument player. You know, that's
That's generally the norm, but it's changing slowly.
Yeah.
And if you have a tabla player who can project well,
Yeah.
the audiences do latch on to him, and it comes forward. And there are many such good young tabla players now, amazing ones.
And you know, you've had you went to school in Mahim, right?
Yes, I did. St.
Yeah.
Michael's School.
Yeah.
It was a very confused childhood, I have to say,
Yeah.
because I grew up, had to do my prayers, read the Quran,
Yeah.
and then walk into a Catholic school.
Do you still read the Quran?
Rarely, but I
Oh.
think about it every
Okay.
now and then.
Okay. Are you religious?
In a musical sense, yes.
You mean, what you mean is probably, if I understand you rightly, is that you're really spiritual rather than religious, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
I'm more that way inclined.
I-
Because this confusion led to this kind of thinking when I would go from a morning Islamic prayer to a Catholic school and go to the mass,
Oh, yes, yes.
and then go to class, and then come back and play music, which is so related to our Hindu deities and gods.
That's right.
So as a child, it was difficult to come to terms with how is this possible, and how one can be one way and then do another thing. So somewhere along the line, I gave up trying to figure out why that is, and just sort of grew
Went with the flow.
into accepting all this to be the same, and that's where it's at for me.
That's really wonderful. That's probably what has given you this spiritual kind of, outlook.
It's just being able to realize that music is one of the highest form of yogas, and because it is, it therefore has the ability to connect you to divinity and whatever that may be. And
Right,
it is in various forms and shapes.
And really, Zakir, I think that music is one of the most secular bonds that can be created between
Absolutely,
people.
absolutely.
Because it's so abstract and it's so beautiful and
It's a
all
universal
that,
way of
yes.
thinking, and
That's right.
it's basically more close to Sufism than anything
That's
else.
right. That's right. I remember our talk about Sufism when you did music for my film.
Yes.
But before we come to that, but before we get to that, what I want to ask you is that you were brought up here, and you've been touring the world, and you've had adulation and accolades from both America and India. You've received so many awards. You know, you've received the Grammy, you've received the Indo-American Award
Yes.
For furthering cultural relations,
National
right?
Heritage Award.
Yes, natural, and that. And you've got the Padma Shri, the Padma Bhushan, the Sangeet Natak Academy Award. You know, it's wonderful. What makes you choose to live in America rather than here?
Actually speaking, I haven't really chosen to live in one place. When I'm in India, I work out of India and I travel all over Southeast Asia. So India is the office
Okay,
from where I go
okay.
out and travel to Dubai or Singapore or Tokyo or Australia, anywhere. When I'm in America, from there I'm traveling constantly all over United States, Canada, Europe, South America. So I'm not really tied down to one place, but yes, I do have a home there. And why I chose to live there was because I was doing my PhD
I see.
at University of Washington in Seattle. And so when I
Okay.
started doing that, and then I got offered a job to teach at the school that Ustaad Ali Akbar Khan Sahib created in California. And I jumped at the chance to be with the great man, and you know,
Yes.
so much more that he could teach me and I could learn. So I took that job, and that's why I ended up establishing
Living
a
there.
residence there. And then I found my wife, married
Yes,
her, and
yes.
the kids are there. So, but still, situation is that I'm maybe about 35 to 40 days stationed there at home, and the same here. Rest of the time, it's all travel.
Travel.
Yeah.
And does Tony travel with you, your wife?
She does. When I've gone for a longer tour, which is more than, say, 2 weeks, then she would join me somewhere for a week, 10 days in
Right.
between. And she was just here in India, she just left.
Oh, she was here.
So we went back together.
Okay. No, I was just wondering, you were just saying that you jumped at the chance to be with the great Ali Akbar Khan, and you've played with all the great names. I mean,
Been lucky, yes, very lucky. Very lucky.
I was just seeing that with V.G. Jog, with Ali Akbar Khan, with Ravi Shankar, with
I would say about 4 generations of artists
Yeah.
I've played with.
with whom, and Shiv Kumar Sharma, of course. With whom have you enjoyed the greatest rapport?
Well, I have to say that there's difference in rapport. One is where you are learning with someone, and one is where you are exploring with someone.
Right.
And someone like Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, because my first concert at the age of 7 was with him. My first professional concert at the age of 12 was with him. And then my first job as a teacher or tabla accompanist on a more permanent basis was also with him. So the rapport with him has become a more intimate.
And then you played with his son Ashish.
And I played with his son Ashish, and so the relationship is more family than anything else. So playing with him is really a great challenge and a lot of fun, because he's a very intuitive player and a very spontaneous player.
Right.
So you never can guess what he's going to do next. So that is a lot of fun. So that's the one where you're learning. Your graph is, you're the teacher, you're the master, and I'll sit with you and play with you and learn. And that learning rapport is great with him. But then someone like Shiv Kumar Sharma, where we both kind of came up together in the field of music, even though he's 8 or 10 years older than me.
But it's more friendship.
Yeah, more friendship, more colleagues playing together.
Yeah.
And so there we are exploring, and the boundaries are more relaxed, and you can open up and sort of let your hair down and do things a little differently. So rapport with him in that way is different. And same with someone like Birju Maharaj. It's a lot of fun. But strangely enough, I have to add that this kind of multi-layered rapport was established somehow with my father, who's my teacher. And
really?
Yeah, and that's rare, I thought, because father and son rarely become teacher and student, and then colleagues, and then friends, and then playing together. So that relationship over the years with him has been very unique.
Zakir, I'd like to, and I'm sure our viewers would like to know a lot about your different experiences with different musicians. I'm sure, as you said, there are various kinds of rapport, and we'd like to really explore that. But before that, we'll have to take a short break. আমরা একটা ছোট্ট বিরতি নিচ্ছি, আবার আমরা ফিরে আসবো। আমরা জানতে চাইবো জাকির সাহেবের কিরকম সম্পর্ক বিভিন্ন মিউজিশিয়ানদের সঙ্গে, কিন্তু আপনারা চলে যাবেন না, আমরা ছোট্ট একটা বিরতি পরে ফিরে আসছি। Shivashish, is it going okay? Yes, it is warm. We should have had a.
I rarely wear these things because they're so warm.
Yeah.
I brought one because we were in Delhi yesterday, and I thought I'd wear it, but it was warm.
But Delhi is very warm.
So
very warm.
There was no reason to wear it.
Katida? Rolling.
যাব আবার ফিরে এলাম উস্তাদ জাকির হোসেনের সঙ্গে আমাদের সাক্ষাৎকারে। Zakir, tell us about for instance, your experience with V.G. Jog or Brijbhushan Cabral, or people
Oh my
like
God,
that.
some great musicians you mentioned.
Yes.
I'm lucky because I got to play with 4 or 5 different generations of musicians, starting with one's senior to people like Ravi Shankar ji or Vilayat Khan Sahab, people like Omkarnath Thakur ji, or the senior Dagar brothers, or Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab, great musicians like those. So I played with them, and then of course Bhim Sen ji, Jasraj ji, and all the next bunch, Ravi ji and so on, and then next bunch like Nikhil Da,
He was
Khan, fabulous musician, Shiv Kumar ji, Hari ji, and all. And now people like Shahid Parvez or Budaditya Mukherjee and these young guys. So I've been lucky that in this span of time I was able to play with these many
And Girija
generations.
Devi.
Girija Devi, fabulous artist
Yes.
and a great person, fabulous
Yes.
person. I
Yes.
enjoyed playing with her. I love playing with people like Jog Saab or Shivji or Brijbhushan Kabra and Girija Ji and all, because when you play, say, someone like Girija Devi, she's representing a whole way of life, a whole tradition. When she starts to sing, she's not just singing this one piece of music that you're accompanying or listening to. She comes from a part of India which has a whole different way of life, a whole way of living, and you experience that whole thing.
Yeah.
Because she's so deeply
Grounded.
rooted and grounded in that system that you can experience and smell and taste Banaras, or that whole part of the Vrindavan and Mathura and so on, and that comes through in her persona. It comes through when she sings, that light, that beautiful brightness that appears, and she's just so fabulous an artist. And the same thing with V.G. Jog, because he's one musician who actually did not represent what you may call a traditional family, but he sort of grew into it. I mean, he was an outsider, more like an academic person, a bureaucrat,
Right.
who was, say, a director of All India Radio or something, and he became a musician and played with so many great musicians and took great time and pains and effort to learn the music. And so here was this modern person, educated person, playing Indian classical music. But for him, the whole tradition was so great, so fabulous, so incredible, and the way he respected and loved this tradition, it taught us something about, sometimes you are in the house and you need to step out of it and look at it to see how beautiful it is.
Yes,
or
I
how
know what you mean.
great,
And
and someone like V.G. Jog brings that forward. You
Right.
see someone like him, or you see, say, when I'm in America and I'm playing with John McLaughlin, a guitar player, and I'm trying to play westernized, and he looks at me and said, "Why? You've got such an incredible tradition.
right.
You bring so much to the table, so
Yes.
serve," rather than trying to be somebody else. And then you look back and you see, yes, he's right, and so Jog Saab was someone like that who kind of instills in you this bubbly love for your tradition and art, and I thank him for that.
It's wonderful because it's like you appreciate your own tradition all over again.
Yes,
Yeah.
through someone else.
I was going to ask you about you just mentioned McLaughlin, and you've played with Mickey Hart and Joe Henderson and all these greats. What made you go into fusion, and what generated this interest?
Well, first of all, the learning part of it was important. And I was doing my PhD in world music, so I wanted to learn more about
All right.
jazz and Indonesian gamelan or Chinese classical music or
Right.
whatever. So all that led to being in a place where all these great musicians were there. And one thing led to another, and rather than just watching them or learning from them, one ended up playing with them.
And what was the
because
time?
this was a time when I think it was a very special time, because here we were in California and all these great musicians were living in the San Francisco area.
Right.
And they all were interested in exploring each other's tradition. It just was a time that when everybody wanted to interact with everybody, and
Right.
there was sudden,
So it was like a workshop. almost.
and it was an opening of minds, of doors, of boundaries were being stretched, and all that happened, and I happened to be the only Indian percussionist
Right.
in the thick of it, so therefore in demand to come and play. And so I ended up playing with all these great people at that time. Being in the right place at the right time is more like it.
Oh, I don't believe that. That's not the only thing. I mean, obviously, it's, you had it in you to be able to all this create the synthesis
Well, in those days we were all kind of exploring each other's ideas.
and being very open.
Very open, but on the surface. I mean, someone like John McLaughlin, whom I played with for almost 30 years now, I have to say that I understand his art, his music, his thinking more now than ever before, and I'm able to communicate with him on many levels, musically speaking, than I had done then.
Right.
But someone like him had the same problem because Indian music was new to them.
Yes.
And they had no idea what it did and where it went and how to deal with it. So anything I did was okay. So
you had to be much more on your guard.
yeah.
You know, you
make,
really
to
had
make
to be
sure
your own
the
critic.
proper picture was presented
Yes.
and whatever was laid out was the right thing to do.
Right.
And no watering down and
And
stuff.
you're also responsible for really bringing, percussion from the South to the world.
Yes, I've been very interested in that. I have to give credit for that to Ravi Shankarji.
Really?
Because, oh yes, the first time I saw a North Indian musician play with South Indian musician was when Ravi Shankar and my father played with some South Indian musicians. And Ravi Shankarji, when he was in All India Radio, and he was the orchestra chief conductor, he got to know some South Indian musicians and he brought them in as part of the orchestra. So he got interested in that and started to introduce that slowly in America and here, and that's how I came in touch with him.
And you seem to be very familiar with it. You know, Zakir, one of the albums that I really enjoyed was where all of you and L. Shankar and Rinku Vinayakam played a rag called Aberi.
Aberi, yes.
I just love that. That's one of the pieces of music that I keep listening to, and we'll play a little of that for our viewers. Amra shonabo apnader Aberi jeta.
I would have to say Aberi, I think, would appeal to a North Indian listener more because it's our afternoon raga, Bhim Palasi.
I know. I was so impressed by it that I read up all the small print.
It's
And-
beautiful raga. I love it.
And
And
it's-
Shankar is a great musician.
He's a great
So this
violinist.
all happened because first the interest with Raviji, and then I guess there had to be somebody who in detail explored this interaction, and I got that chance through playing with John McLaughlin and Shankar and this group Shakti.
And then you brought Vikku Vinayakam.
Then we added him into the team.
He's wonderful. I love the khatam. It's just wonderful.
What a beautiful man and great musician.
And
fabulous
the
artist.
sound of the khatam is.
Literally just a little ceramic thing, and he makes
You
it.
know, Ray used to love that. He used to use it a lot.
Oh yes.
Yes, in Gupiga and Bagabai.
Oh yeah.
He's used that a lot, in fact, and our Bengali audiences love it.
It's a beautiful instrument. It records very well. It sounds fabulous.
बहुत मीठा है.
बहुत ही दारुण मिष्टी.
Darun Mishti. Darun Mishti. Tell me, you know, you've been wearing so many hats. You've done East-West fusion. You've done worked with Carnatic musicians from the south. You've played with and even as a soloist and played with so many Hindustani classical greats. You've composed music. You've composed music for films.
Yes.
You've
Speaking of
acted.
which, I saw your latest film. It was very, very good. I loved it very much.
15 Park
Yes, but I kind of harked back to the 36.
Oh.
I was wondering why 15 Park Avenue. but
Okay, that's the address.
That's
Yes,
the address.
yes.
It was so nice, beautiful film.
Coming to that, we must do another film together. Really.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
Because I really enjoyed doing Mr. and Mrs. Iyer with you, and when I come back and to the film and keep listening to Don't Look Away, which you did on the spur of the moment.
Yes.
I mean, just did it just off the cuff like that, and
But I wish I had more time because
I do too.
we got involved at such a late stage in the film that
Yes,
I had no.
but it was wonderful that you came all the way to Dallas, where I was. I mean,
Yeah, but it was nice to come there and see.
Yeah, so it was really wonderful. But I was just going to ask you, which of these hats is the most comfortable? Which one do you enjoy most? Do you enjoy?
Being a traditional musician, I
Is what you enjoy.
It's very. I grew up doing this, and
Yes.
that's when I'm most comfortable. Just sitting there with the tabla and playing either my solo concert or accompanying a sitar or so or santoor. It's really something that's you're home.
I see.
You know, this
So
is,
you're really rooted in that.
yeah.
And then you're a man of the present, of today's man. So you've sort of branched out into so many
Yes,
other
I did. I feel that I'm what you may call a transition bridge for many people who are younger than me and the people who are older than me. And I belong to a generation who's still sort of connected to the roots, but have gone out a little bit. And when you look at today's musician, they are a little bit more modernized, a little bit more in the experiment mode.
Yes.
And doing more with trance and techno and electronica and everything.
Right.
So it's nice to have this, that there are some of us who are still connected to the roots
Yes.
and can branch out if need be. And so it's nice that I'm in that spot.
Well, what I wanted to ask you was you know, when you choose films for which you agree to do music, when an offer comes, what are the qualities you're looking? What do you look for? What do you look for? How do you choose? That's what we want to know from you. But before that, after a break, we'll come back to you. আমরা আবার একটা ছোট্ট বিরতি নেব, তারপর জাকির আমাদের বলবেন যে কি দেখে, কি ভাবনা থেকে উনি যখন সঙ্গীত পরিচালনা করেন কোনো ছবিতে, চলচ্চিত্রে, তখন কি ভাবনা থেকে উনি সে ছবি নির্বাচন করেন।
Definitely.
Ready?
Ready?
আমরা ফিরে এলাম উস্তাদ জাকির হোসেনের সঙ্গে আমাদের ব্যক্তিগত সাক্ষাৎকারে। আমরা এখন ওর কাছে জানতে চাইব যে যখন উনি কোনো চলচ্চিত্রের সঙ্গীত পরিচালনার অফার গ্রহণ করেন তখন কি ভেবে করেন আপনি জাকির স্যার? What makes you choose the films that you?
First of all, the person who's doing it.
Yes. Well, you've worked with a lot of greats. You've worked in Custody, you've worked in Little Buddha,
Yes.
you've worked in Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
It's amazing.
That was the first score.
And then something very different, SARS, and everybody says I'm fine. My film, Vanaprastham, which was shown at Cannes.
Yes. I just like to work with, there are people like you, for instance. I'm a big fan, a great fan, really. And so when I got a call, I had to do it. You know, and then the project appealed, and that was important. Same thing with Rahul, or same thing with Sai.
Tell me about a little more about how it was working in Little Buddha, for instance.
It's strange how it came about. I was called in basically to authenticate the music.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I was in California, and there was this professor who actually got his PhD along with me at University of Washington, and he was in LA, and he was called upon by the company to say, we're sending you this music, we want to use it in the film, please authenticate it, see if this is correct for the period.
Right.
And he called me up, and I said, okay, send me the stuff. The next thing he did was said, well, Bernardo said, would you mind coming to London to actually be there when the music is being printed and help with that. So I flew there, and then we were listening to the music, and it was all very modern music.
Okay.
And so I told him, I said, this is not the right period, these are not the correct instruments, these weren't there at that time,
Right.
and so on. So, and then he heard, and then he said, okay, and mulled it over for a few hours and called me up in the hotel and said, would you care to do the music? Are there instruments available? And there were in London instruments and musicians there. So we said, okay. So that's how I ended up doing the music, and it was Bernardo.
Yeah, Bernardo Bertolucci. What was it like working with him?
He's very passionate, very eccentric, very spontaneous, believe it or not, and he doesn't care if there is budget available or not.
Oh, how wonderful to be able to do that.
There were times when we would write a piece of music, and there'll be 72 musicians in the studio, the whole orchestra, and then he would listen to it and say, good, fine, and we'll record it. And then at midnight, I would get a call saying, you know what, we need to change this, I don't like this. And after having okayed it and everything, and then you'd have to call the whole orchestra back again. And in England, that means a lot of money.
My God, yes.
And rewrite the music, and okay it and then go on. And for him it didn't matter if it was 19, not 20. He had to change it. It didn't matter if it cost him. And so that's the way he was with the whole thing. So what should have taken us 6 days ended up taking us 3 weeks, and it cost a hell of a lot of money to do this.
And what about Apocalypse Now?
That came as a what he did, palming off kind of stuff. Carmen Coppola, who is Francis Coppola's father, is somewhat of a musician.
Oh.
He plays saxophone.
Okay.
So what Francis did was, when he made a film, he would tell his father, get the music organized.
Right.
Kept it in the family. What Francis would do is he would take the film, the video of it or whatever, and palm it off to some of the musicians living in the area.
Right.
And then he would say, okay, I'll give you 3 days in the studio or 5 days in the studio. You do the music. And then he would choose.
All right.
From
so he
that.
didn't really do it himself.
No. Then he would choose from there what went on. And so I happened to be one of the musicians in the neighborhood. So he gave me a video.
Is that again a case of being at the
right place at the right time?
Really? You're too modest.
No, but he gave it to me and I said okay. And that's how I met Mickey Hart, because the studio that they brought me into was Mickey Hart's studio. And so then we started working, and I asked Mickey, would you play a little bit? And so we got together. So that's how I ended up doing the music for Apocalypse Now. But he only used, about 28 odd minutes of it. He did not use the whole thing, but the whole last section where Brando gets killed and all that's all music that I did.
Okay.
So at least I know that much. And got credit and all that, so it was good. That was my first experience to do music for a film.
Right.
So it was fun.
And then something as completely opposite as Vanaprastha and SARS, where you also acted.
Yeah, well, I tried.
But you acted there. You acted in Heat and Dust, where you also did the music.
Yes,
yes,
I did.
right.
That was I wasn't supposed to do either actually. Nasir was supposed to do the role, and I think 3 or 4 days before the shoot, he had to pull out.
So don't tell me you came in as a Stepney.
I came in as a Stepney, and I had never stood in front of a camera before.
And you stole everybody's heart.
I don't
You
know.
did, you absolutely did. You know, everyone talks about you in Heat and Dust and how absolutely sexy you were and how wonderful you looked, and you were very natural in front of the camera, Zakir. And I say this as a director as much as an actor.
You're too kind. I decided then that I was a much better tabla player, so I kind of stuck with that.
So you don't enjoy acting? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if I enjoy acting. I don't know if I'm comfortable with it.
But you acted in SARS.
Yeah, but that also, Shabana ji said we have to do it, and I thought to meet about doing the music, and we were talking about that, and then next thing I knew I was being told to do the role.
And you had to agree.
And I had to agree because both Javed said one side,
Shabana on the other.
So you have to do it, you have to do it. Okay. But I don't know if I'm made out for that kind of stuff. I'm very happy doing the music for films.
But tell me, you're happy doing music for films. Which film director have you again, the same question that I asked you about musicians, with whom have you had the greatest rapport?
In a short span of time, I would say you.
No, you don't have to say that.
No, but it's true. Someone like, say, Ismail Merchant or James Ivory.
Yeah.
They talk to you about what they need done. Okay, and then they leave you alone and they're gone. And then you're in the studio and you're working with music and you're hoping that you're getting it right. And then you deliver the music.
Oh, so they're not there?
That they're not there.
Okay.
90% of the time they're not there.
So you must have felt I was breathing down your neck.
No, but that was great because there was input, there was interaction, there was like,
yes.
Okay, let's get this done together.
Yeah.
So in that short span of time, to have done whatever we did was amazing, and it would not have happened if there would not have been input from you.
And input from you not only as, of course there would have to be input from you as the music director, but you also really functioned as a lyricist because you wrote the songs. I mean, Don't Look Away was something that you wrote, which I absolutely loved.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it came
you-
from you though. But,
No, that line came from you, and I said, I love that, I love that. That
but
I found,
it's
yeah.
because of the way the situation was, with the film
Right.
was. And, so I enjoy, first of all, the one thing that I did not get a chance to do with Mr. and Mrs. Ayer was read a script.
Yeah, you saw the film.
I saw the film.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
normally what happens is, say Ismail, when he's doing a film, I already get the script
Yeah, right.
before they start shooting.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get into it and you start collecting stuff and get organized so that when your time comes, you're ready
Yeah.
for it.
Well, we got so caught up in the shoot and everything, it sort of happened at the last minute. It almost didn't happen, and then it did.
Yeah.
You know,
And I have to
that's-
thank Rahul for
Yes,
helping
yes.
us come together.
And I have to thank Rahul too.
Thank
yes.
you, Rahul.
Yes, Rahul, if you're listening, thank you. Right. No, I was going to come back to your career as a musician, and I was going to ask you, your career as a musician in Hindustani classical music, which you say that is the one that you're most comfortable with. In fact, in 1970, when you were 19 or something, you toured with Ravi Shankar, is that right?
Yes, I was 18, yes, just turned 18.
Just turned 18.
But that again, being in the right place at the right time. My father is the
Was
one
supposed-
who was always traveling with him, and
Right.
I was in Europe with Ashish.
Okay.
And we were doing a tour, and I got a call saying, well, you have to come to New York next week to play with Ravi Shankar ji because your father cannot make it for those first 3 or 4 concerts, and so you have to come. And so I was in Munich and I flew to America. In those days, it was easy for a young man to get a visa to go to America. Nowadays it's
now it's
impossible,
very
but in
difficult.
those days I just walked into the US Embassy and said I need to go to New York, and they gave me the visa.
And your father, did he accompany you?
No, he couldn't make it for
Oh,
the
that's
first
all
few
right.
shows,
So that's why you went.
so that's why I went.
And what was it like? Was it difficult?
It was kind of strange.
Why?
Well, the first concert, first of all, I arrived there and nobody came to get me.
Oh,
So I was this young kid. I had
Yeah.
like about $11 in my pocket, and I was in New York. And then I spent 7 of those to get into town, into the Midtown bus terminal. And that night, it was late night already, and nobody was there to receive me. I had no idea where to go. So I spent the night in the bus terminal.
oh my
And I
God.
sat in the chair, and there was this black, humongous guy walking back and forth. And then I fell asleep, and at about 5:30 in the morning, the same black guy woke me up and handed me a cup of coffee and donut.
Oh, how sweet.
And I was afraid of the guy all through the evening. I was
Yeah.
saying, what? Anyway, so that morning they found me finally, and next thing I knew, I was in the Plaza Hotel in
Ah,
a suite.
okay.
Sudden change. It was
Yes,
strange.
yes.
And that evening was the show, and you arrive in the concert, and it's dark, totally dark. In America,
Yeah.
the theaters are dark, not like India where you see the audience.
Yeah.
So I was still kind of new to that idea. And all I saw was these little dots of lights, hundreds and hundreds of them. And this strange smell, overpowering smell. So it turned out that everyone in the audience was holding a stick of incense.
Whatever form.
I don't know.
Because there was Indian music being
I guess
played.
Indian music, and so incense and all that.
Yeah,
and I guess there were no fire rules or anything.
Yes, not.
So that was the strange
Were
thing.
you nervous?
I was very nervous to play with Raviji. I played with him in India, but to play with him in America alone and to
And
sub
had he
for
also
my
been
father.
kind of part of the family,
Oh yes,
just like
Seen
Ali
me
Khan
since
Sahab?
I was born.
Yeah.
and but to sub for my father, that was difficult. But he
Yeah.
put me at ease totally, because he said to the audience, "Ladies and gentlemen, you must be wondering why Allah Rakha suddenly went so thin and young." So
Yeah,
that kind of
so
broke the ice. It was good, and he was so nice.
Yes.
Took me along in the concert, so it was fun.
So did it hurt you now when he said yes, very recently when he said that the tabla should be 20% lower?
Oh no, I agree with him.
You agree with
Oh,
that?
absolutely, because the role of a tabla player basically is
Not
that of an
anymore.
accompanist.
Not anymore. You really
No,
think
no,
so?
I still think
Okay.
that the primary function of the tabla player or the tabla is to accompany the artist. And the kind of system, the way our music is, especially when it expresses so many different moods and
Right.
emotions, that you can, I mean, this whole idea of calling it a jugalbandi is nothing but a ploy by the promoters to make it sound like there's a wrestling match. So the audience
Yeah,
will
that's
come.
not nice. But I think
But this is the way it is. I found myself at times playing with people like Raviji or Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, hardly playing, just being there, because that's all that was needed. The music was speaking for itself. There was no need to worry about it. So, primary function is that you're an accompanist. And as an accompanist, like with the singer is the main thing, and everybody else is underneath that, supporting the singing. Similarly, the tabla is. So I agree with that. I totally agree.
so. How would you like to be remembered, Zakir? Tell us.
As a student,
No, I haven't finished my question quite. As you're adored as somebody who does wonderful fusion, would you like to be remembered as that, or would you like to be remembered as an accompanist in Hindustani classical music?
as I still would say that I'd like to be remembered as a student, because one of the things my father told me was two things he told me, which was one he said to someone else and one to me, and that was, don't try to be a great master genius musician, just try to be a great master genius student and you'll do just fine, because every day there's something new to learn. There's no such thing as perfection. You try to get to it, and that's the fun. And the other thing he said was somebody else, and that was, somebody said, oh, you played perfect, and it was so perfect, and he said, I haven't played good enough to quit yet.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great line.
And that's a fabulous line, and
Yes,
it just kind of stayed with me.
Yes, it gives you your philosophy of life, so
Exactly.
to speak. Yes.
And so that's what it is all about.
We have one or two more questions. We're almost at the end of this interview. Just just take a short break. আরেকবার আমরা একটা ছোট্ট বিরতি নিচ্ছি, তারপরে আরো একটু বাকি আছে এই সাক্ষাৎকারের, আমরা আপনাদের কাছে ফিরে আসবো। চলে যাবেন না? Zakir, tell them not to go away.
আর চলে যাবেন না, এক্ষুনি আসছি আমি, তাড়াতাড়ি।
Just one or two more questions. আমরা আবার ফিরে আসছি উস্তাদ জাকির হোসেনের সঙ্গে, আমরা আমাদের যে সাক্ষাৎকার সেখানে ফিরে আসছি। আমরা জানতে চাইবো ওর কাছে যে উনি বলছেন যে উনি সারা জীবন উনি ছাত্র হিসেবে নিজেকে ভাবেন। You think of yourself as a student.
Absolutely.
Right. But you know, some of your detractors say that you're always playing to the gallery. Because you're also a great showman. I mean, which is wonderful according to me. But how would you react to that? Does it hurt you?
No, it doesn't.
Makes you feel amused?
I enjoy it. It's fun. I mean, I have fun on stage. I'm having a good time because it's something I enjoy doing. Music is something so beautiful. So I've always had it as a toy since I was young, and it's the best toy I've had, playing tabla, and I enjoy it. And I need to share that with people, so I don't like to hold myself back.
Right.
And for some people that's a little difficult to digest, because serious music is traditional classical music and one must be serious when one's playing it. But rhythm is something so unusual. It's a roller coaster ride. It's like bungee jumping, or jumping off a plane with a parachute and just taking a huge risk. And that kind of excitement is infectious, and I love it.
I'm so glad. One other thing that people would like to know, our viewers would like to know, I'm sure, is that all the great music conferences that we used to have in Calcutta, they're all dying out now.
That's true. Yeah.
And where do you think this is taking? It's being corporatized for one thing.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that people who used to sponsor, first of all, what has happened is that the fees of the artists have gone very high, and you need to have a sponsor to be able to make that happen.
Right.
I would not blame the artists for that.
Yeah.
It's simply because the artists don't have a pension plan. They
Right,
don't
they
have a
have to-
provident
yes,
fund.
yes.
And they only have a few years at the top. And they must, in this day and age where everything is so expensive, secure their future
Right.
while they can.
Right.
So they must ask for a decent amount of money to be able to do that. And the corporates come in for that. But now the corporations have become more wise and say, if we are paying for this, then we'd like to have our own intimate concerts in a ballroom or somewhere, and we like to invite our own corporate clients and everything and have a concert for them. So now the sponsorships from big festivals have
Yes.
gone because of that. And I don't know how to remedy that, but what can happen, and this is what I do, I don't play corporate shows.
You don't play corporate
No.
shows, right?
And I don't play private shows.
Also,
At all.
you wouldn't, okay. But for instance, earlier on, you used to have music recitals held at, say, palaces and so on.
Yeah.
That kind of thing you would do or no?
Well, I think I kind of did a blanket decision here, and that was that if I make myself available only for public concerts, which are
Right.
ticketed, then the sponsor, not the sponsor, the promoter, stands a better chance of selling tickets
Yes.
and getting support for the show.
Right.
And so I make my appearances here.
Okay.
I play in one city maybe twice a year. And so that's what I'm doing. And I think that most of the musicians who are, of a very high level, famous, great musicians should do the same. So that their appearances are so wanted that the corporates have to come and sponsor the festivals.
Right. So you think corporatizing of festivals is a good idea?
I think music needs support.
Yes.
It does. And musicians need to have their moment in the sun so they could have a secure future.
I saw in your in your website that there are Zakir Hossain T-shirts.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
going towards securing. Well, of course, your future is secured. There's no question of that. But these are things that our musicians, many of our musicians, could take tip from.
Oh yeah, they should. They need to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's important to, in the short span you have available, do as much as you can for
Much as you
yourself,
possibly
because
can,
no one is going to help. I've seen great musicians dying in herds in
Yeah.
small rooms, and they've played all their life and made money, but not as much. And it's good that Indian classical musicians nowadays, in the last 15, 20 years, have had a better look at possibilities of making money than ever before. But before that, I mean, I still remember playing for a tiffin of dinner. Honestly.
I think I'm getting to know Zakir, the person, much more through this interview than I ever have before. And I'm getting this feeling that you have this lovely philosophy in your life. You are, a philosopher in your own way, because you've developed this philosophy in your life, which makes you respond so spontaneously to everything. Did you consciously do it, or did it just happen?
I think it just happened. 30 odd years ago, I used to stammer speaking English.
No.
Yes. I used to have trouble putting thoughts together.
You used to stammer, you shared that with Uttam Kumar. Uttam Kumar
really?
once told me, I asked him, I said, why are you learning the same lines over and over again? And he's such a big matinee idol. He was big then,
Yes, yes.
and I was just a youngster. And he said, come and sit down. And he said, you know something, I have a problem. I have a stutter. I said, a stutter? Never knew that. He said, yes, I have a stutter. I tend to stammer. So I have to really learn the lines. And I thought, what a confident man can admit this to somebody half his age.
Yes.
Of
course. And he overcome that.
He overcame it. He was very, very wonderful.
Very famous artist. I saw his
and
movies.
a wonderful actor.
Amazing.
Yes.
Very.
So you used to have a stutter.
So I had this problem, and I had trouble expressing myself, and I had to gradually get to a point where I felt confident enough to say something. I read a lot. I watched a lot of things. I digested as much information as I could. And so that helped me and success helps.
Yes, it does.
It brings in confidence, and you're able to then speak your mind. And for a time, it happened that whenever I arrived somewhere, the conversation always ended up being about what I did, and it was easier to speak.
Sure.
So that helped.
Yeah. And now, of course, speaking of success, now you're teaching music at an Ivy League college at Princeton.
At Princeton. It's
Indian
fun.
music.
Indian music.
So isn't that wonderful that Indian music is being taught?
Yes, it's great that an university like Princeton, which is considered the #1 university in the United States, has decided to do this. And this university, up till recent time, was more white university.
Yes.
And so to bring in an ethnic world music kind of an idea into their system is a big leap for them. But they've spent the money and they've established a music chair, and I happen to be the first professor for it.
Do you enjoy teaching?
Oh, I loved it because first it was very difficult. I spent days and nights trying to read up on what I was going to talk about. Because first of all, I had to draw up a syllabus. What was going to happen through all the lectures.
Right.
And then I had to give them reading assignments and watching CDs or DVDs upon assignments, so that the lectures that I taught had to coincide with what other assignments they were given.
Right.
So it was not like, okay, let me teach you Teen Tal today or Rag so and so today. It had to be decided ahead of time, and lectures had to be prepared.
So you had to learn how to be a teacher.
I had to learn how to be that kind of a teacher. Just sitting with my instrument and teaching was easy, but to walk up and down and see 108 students sitting there, and to speak mainly without having my instruments to fall back on. Because that was a little difficult.
But as you said, you were a student all your life.
And so I learned, and I'm learning more. And I found out more about my music by doing this than I had ever done before. I mean, I revisited areas which I had forgotten. And so it's good that it's
good for you too.
It's very good for me.
And it's fun?
It's fun. It's the most popular class on the campus.
I can imagine.
And it's the most attended class.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
It has the most students.
But they take you seriously. You look so young.
I'm not young.
But you look so young. And the students take you seriously?
They take me seriously. We have fun. And these are music majors. These are students who are studying music.
Yes, take it very seriously.
So they are serious. And we are able to play music, listen to music, have a good time. Just, there are some musicians who bring their instruments, and then at the end of the class we have a jam session.
Oh, lovely.
So it's a lot
That
of
sounds
fun.
good.
It's fun.
If I go to Princeton, I'd like to attend your class.
Please, you must come.
Just as an observer.
Yeah. Oh, speaker.
No, I'd love to, really. No, but one last question. This is going to be our last question for our viewers. You're considered an extremely attractive and sexy man. I'd like to ask you, what part does your hair play in your public image?
Only that it gives me the tea contract.
The tea contract?
I don't know. I mean, once I cut my hair and arrived for my tea shoot, and they canceled the shoot.
But don't you think, no, more seriously, don't you think that when you're playing and your hair is tossing all over, don't you think it really adds, and I mean this quite seriously, I mean, when you see a drummer playing, and these drummers have long hair, and they're playing, and their hair tosses all about, it adds something dynamic visually to the whole show?
I guess it does do that. I mean, for instance, for a tabla player, you're sitting behind a tabla, so there's only this much that you can see. So if there is a visual connection to whatever is happening in terms of sound, obviously people react to that. And I don't know how this happened. It just happened one day. I was in and my hair was short before I left India. And when I was in America, one day it just became long, and it just stayed that way. And then people started saying, leave it. It's
good, let it be that way. We all love your hair.
And it's falling off now slowly.
Well, thank you very, very much, Zakir. It's really been lovely.
I really enjoyed myself.
So did I. Thank you so much. আজকে আমাদের সাক্ষাৎকার এখানেই শেষ হলো। আমরা আশা করছি কোনো এক সময় পরে যখন জাকির সাহেব আবার আসবেন আমরা আবার ওর সঙ্গে কথা বলবো। আজকে ধন্যবাদ।
নিশ্চয়ই আসবো, আবার দেখা হবে।
থ্যাংক ইউ, নমস্কার।